MusicNomad Tune-It is one of my favorite products. It's made in the USA, it's a pro-strength formulation, and it contains anti-wear, anti-corrosion, and anti-oxidation additives. It's clear, non-staining, and it's petroleum and silicone free. The way that I would use MusicNomad Tune-It on this Epiphone Les Paul is I would put it directly into each of the nut slots. So there's a couple of ways that you can apply it. One of the ways is that you can put it directly on the applicator that comes with your Tune-It and put it straight into the nut slot like so. Since I'm going to be doing all 6 of the nut slots and all 6 of the saddle slots, I'm going to put a little dab directly onto my cloth so that I can just use my applicator straight into it and not have to apply each time I want to lubricate a nut slot or saddle slot. So I can just dab a little bit out of my cloth, put it into my nut slots one at a time. Whenever you're applying, you don't want to over apply. You don't need to fill the entire nut slot with Tune-It, but you do want to make sure that you get a good swipe in there. And what can happen is if you do overfill the slots a little bit, when you put the string in, whatever is extra is going to kind of come up around the side of the string. Then you can just use your cloth and easily wipe the nut top off. It's not going to hurt your finish or anything like that. So now that we've lubricated all 6 of our nut slots, we're going to move down to the body end of the guitar and lubricate all 6 of the saddle slots. Basically anywhere that you have a string that glides over a piece of metal, piece of bone, or piece of plastic, you want to apply some Tune-It so that you have lessened the friction on those contact points. That's the biggest problem with guitar tuning instability, is having a lot of friction at your contact points, whether it's at your bridge or at your nut. And also applying Tune-It at the bridge and nut reduces the chance of string breakage. You can use it on any type of nut material, from graphite, plastic, bone, but keep in mind if you have a very porous bone nut, there might be some discoloration on the sides of the string slot where the Tune-It soaks into the bone. So I'm going to apply some MusicNomad Tune-It underneath my string tree. I'm going to apply some Tune-It directly to my applicator, like so. And then I can pop my string out of the tree, and then I can put my Tune-It right underneath, like so. And you can even put a little bit on the string if you want right there as well. And that's going to help the string glide back and forth under the tree when you use your tremolo. If you have a tremolo bar that's a little bit sticky in the block, you can use Tune-It on the bar as a really good lubricant to help free that up. Another occasion that you might have for using Tune-It on the nut is if you have 1 or 2 strings that are binding and causing you tuning issues. If that's the case, the ideal thing is to get a set of MusicNomad diamond-coated nut files and cut your slots so that they don't bind. But if you need a little extra help on the gig or something like that, you can go ahead and use a little bit of the Tune-It on your applicator, pull your string aside, put the Tune-It directly into the string slot, and put your string right back in. If you have a little bit come out, a little extra, you can just take a cloth and clean that right off of the top of the nut, and it will help your string glide back and forth even if the nut slot is slightly tight or is not properly shaped. Tune-It will not affect your tone or sustain or anything like that. It lubricates the slot and helps your string glide as smoothly as it can. Tune-It is safe and effective on any stringed instrument, whether it's an acoustic guitar, banjo, ukulele, bass guitar, anything you have with strings that move over a bridge or through a nut. Tune-It is great for those. So using MusicNomad Tune-It on this bass involves a couple of things. I have a string tree with a lot of tension on it, so I'm going to remove my strings from under the tree, lubricate under the tree, then I'm going to take all my strings out of the nut and I'm going to lubricate each nut slot. So to do the string tree, I'll put some Tune-It on my applicator, pop the string out of the tree, and I can either go under the tree. But with a larger bass tree like this, sometimes it's easier just to put the Tune-It on the string. Do the same thing on my D string. So that'll be ready to go back into the string tree. And then I'll lubricate the nut slots. So I'll just down tune until I can get my strings out. You don't want to drag your strings around on the top of the nut, especially if you have a nice bone nut like this one. Because it has a tendency to scratch or mar the surface of the nut. So definitely loosen your strings before you pull them around on the top of the nut. So now I'll take my tune it, put some in my G slot, D slot, A, and E. Don't want to use too much, but you just want to make sure that you have enough in there that you've coated the bottom of the slot. And I'll tune it back up to pitch. The tune is not going to affect the sound or the sustain of the instrument. It'll just make your tuning very stable and ensure that all your contact points between your string and the instrument are properly lubricated so your string can glide smoothly. To properly lubricate the saddles on this P bass, I'm going to loosen my string, and I can just loosen it enough to just move the string out of the saddle slot, and I can take my tune it, apply some directly to my applicator, put it down in here in the saddle slot, and then I can tune back up to pitch. And I know that my string is going to glide smoothly over that saddle. I would use Music Nomad Tune It after every string change. While your strings are off the guitar, you just put a little dab in your nut slots, a little dab on your saddles, and you're going to make sure that your tuning stability is as good as it can be.
To check out all our products, go to musicnomadcare.com.